We're going to talk here about the Bucket Ministry. Most of you probably saying, I have no idea what that is all about. Well, that's why we're doing the interview, so that you can learn more about this organization. We do have information about my guest, Christopher Beth, as well as if you scroll down, you will see as you click on that, it will take you to thebucketministry.org. And the idea of sharing God's love through the gift of clean, safe drinking water. We'll get into all the details of that in just a minute. Christopher Beth is the founder and chief storyteller of the Bucket Ministry, individual that was in the business world and actually with a good group that I'm very familiar with, the Amazon Outreach, going down the Amazon, and witnessed the devastating impact of what happens when you don't have clean water, something we think about every single day when we go to the faucet and turn it on. And because of that, the Bucket Ministry was born, and it is a way in which we can share the gospel, provide water filters. They're now doing this for at least 20 different countries. And so, Christopher, I appreciate you being with us today to tell the story.
Kirby, thank you so much. This is a great blessing. So I'm grateful to be here with you and just to tell some stories.
Well, and again, I've got a great appreciation for that because my daughter has just returned from, I think, the third trip now to Tanzania, where they dig water wells to provide clean water for the first time to many of the young people in some of these schools and even near churches that don't even have access to it. I might just mention to some of our listeners that would like to maybe watch online, you're going to actually demonstrate this in the studio, and you got some pretty dirty-looking water right there. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. But tell your story, because you're down the Amazon. You realize the devastating impact of the lack of clean water, and that really was the genesis of this particular ministry, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that I was only on this trip, Kirby, to be a dad. I only went to accompany my daughter, and my sole job was to make sure she came home.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I really didn't even understand my own relationship with Jesus, and I certainly did not have a love or compassion for the people that we were serving there yet. I just went to bring my kid home. So we flew into Manaus, Brazil. Mm-hmm. We hopped on a open-air riverboat and went 18 hours into the Amazon basin, to the darkest corners of these flooded jungles with anaconda and caiman and piranha and all those crazy things that you think you would see only in National Geographic. And there was a variety of people on this riverboat, and we were serving in several communities. And at that point, I thought I was going to get to do something like soccer camp, or I was going to do VBS with the kids, but the trip leader assigned me to go on these home-to-home faith visits, which I knew nothing about. And so I go on these visits, and it was uncomfortable for me because I was just a business guy before this. I had no experience ministering to people directly in their homes. And on the third day of this trip, we went across the river into a home, and I had a couple look at me, and I'm just this giant, sweaty American, and they said, "Are you thirsty?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm thirsty." And I looked around their home, and I expected to see a refrigerator with some bottles of water in it, or maybe a water cooler, because I've lived a privileged life.
Yes.
Here in the Metroplex. And if I was thirsty, I just went to my refrigerator, like many of us do, got a cup of water, or I went and bought a bottle of water. I never knew anything about people having to drink water directly from a river. So this didn't even show up on my radar, Kirby. And so what happens is these people ask me if I'm thirsty, and I was waiting for them to go to their refrigerator. But what they did is they went into their kitchen and they took 2 cups. They were mismatched and they were cracked. And they went outside onto this dock area and bent down and scooped water out of the river in these cups. And I'm standing in the doorway thinking to myself, what is happening here? Because there is absolutely no way I'm drinking that, and surely they don't mean for me to drink that. And but sure enough, a few seconds later, they walk in and hand a cup to me and one cup to my interpreter. So there's these points in life where you have to make a very quick decision. And on one hand, if I drink this, I'm going to spend the rest of the trip in the bathroom.
I would think so.
On the other hand, if I don't, I just told this lady how thirsty I was, and she's going to think I'm rude if I sit there and hang on to this cup of water. So I had to make a quick decision. I look over at my interpreter, and he's going, "Don't do that." He's wagging his finger, no, and he knows. And so this is when the gravity of the situation sets in, and I realize that this is all these people have to drink.
I know.
And I'm holding a glass of water, river water, Kirby, that's got stuff swimming in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I realize I can't drink this. So now I'm feeling a little bit of a weight in my heart that this is all they have. And I will tell you, prior to this day, I had never been in the business of hearing the Lord's voice. And in fact, if I'm being completely honest with you, when people said, well, God told me to do this, I would be like, really?
Yeah.
Did he really say that? And but as I was holding this glass of water, I clearly heard two words, and he said, help them.
Help them.
But it did not come with any instruction.
Yeah.
I didn't know what help them meant. Was I supposed to give him $20 out of my wallet? Am I supposed to hug him, cook him dinner? What is help them? So I leave there with that burden and come back home. But while I was there in the Amazon, I saw things that I couldn't reconcile at that moment. I saw people without hope that were far from God. I saw people drinking out of a river, thinking that was normal.
Yeah.
And so combining that with this experience in that house is where I like to say God breathed life into the bucket ministry. And that day in that house is also where he illustrated why he had created me.
Let's talk about what people will find on the website, because I do want to alert people that when we come back from a break, I want you to demonstrate how these filters work. But we do have thebucketministry.org, and I think there's a place where various listeners can actually participate with you. You're in 20 different countries. They can find out how they can connect up with you in a place where maybe the church already has a ministry, or they could go and participate with you. So let's talk about what are some of the opportunities for some of our listeners.
Sure. Well, we really have a very simple model, Kirby. It's pray, give, go, and tell. And first and foremost, we're looking for prayer champions, people that would like to join us praying over the laborers in the field that are doing this every single day, distributing these water filters, following up, praying over God to provide resources to do the work. And then second part would be going. And we run anywhere from 8 to 10 trips a year into established mission fields. And we invite anyone that would like to join and to be able to see where God is working and how they can join him in his work. To quote Henry Blackaby, we have that opportunity. And then giving, that seems pretty straightforward, but we work with OPM. We work with other people's money to get things done, right? And so we can provide a water filter, a bucket, and 3 follow-up visitations, a Bible. But more importantly, we can provide hope to a family for over 20 years for $50 in most countries. So that's the giving part of this. Then the last part is storytelling and being able to open opportunities to do like what we're doing today. Just talk about God's goodness and where he's working and how he's reaching his people with clean, safe drinking water.
And again, you think of Jesus as the living water, and you think of the woman at the well in Samaria, and you can think of how many times water is linked to evangelism. And I want to talk a little bit about some of those opportunities. And I also want to alert some of you that I know we're a radio program, but we do have cameras in the studio. And so if you have access to a computer right now, you might want to watch, because you're going to take this bottle of really dirty looking water that I don't think anybody would actually want to drink. And then we're going to show the value of the filter. I would love to have you right now maybe explain that for anybody that's watching online. First of all, let's hold up that dirty water one more time. That is not something I would want to wash my car with. And yet here you're going to demonstrate through one of the filters how that can actually save lives in a very direct way. So talk about that.
So, Kirby, this filter is very, very simple. It attaches to any bucket or any other sort of receptacle, and through the gravity of water in the bucket, it forces water through this filter. The filter technology inside here is derived from kidney dialysis technology, and it will remove contaminants and parasites down to the bacterial level. So it traps those contaminants in there, and it yields clean, safe drinking water, and will yield about 20 years worth of clean, safe drinking water through this one filter. So I collected a little bit of water from Lake Tawakoni this morning for you. And so what we're going to do...
Not recommended for anybody.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to screw the Sawyer 0.1 hollow fiber membrane filter on the top of this bottle. And then all we're going to do is we're going to squeeze the water through the filter, and into a clean cup, and see if we can't. And I need to.
There you go. Here you go. And I think anybody watching right now can see. Yeah, you've got it. No, it's very easy to see. I was looking on the screen there. Yeah, it looks great. And that looks a lot cleaner than what you just came from.
I think you can see a radical transformation. But as educated people, we know it's not the things that we can see in the water that will make us sick. And because we're so confident in this filter's ability to not only provide hope but save lives physically, that we've drank the nastiest water all over planet Earth, Kirby. So
there you go.
Safe and tasty.
Safe and tasty. So there you go. And let's, if we can, just talk about how you do this, because we talk about mission groups may want to join with you, but one of the kind of philosophies you have is to work with the indigenous groups. And I think that's going to be helpful because they know the language, they know the culture, and really they have to do a re-education because sadly, I've been to parts of the world where they think water looks like that. And it doesn't look like what you just drank.
Indeed.
And so you almost have to re-educate people to say water is actually clean and clear, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the crazy thing is in the places where we work, people think that dirty water is supposed to look like this. And for viewers that are listening, we have a bottle of dirty lake water here. So they think that that's normal.
Yes.
And so there is a re-education process. But we believe the best way for ministry to happen is to identify and recruit and then train local indigenous missionaries and pastors to be able to use this tool. And the water filter, Kirby, is just a tool. It's a tool to be able to preach the good news of Jesus Christ, because there are so many references in a bottle of or a bucket of dirty water to the sin in our lives.
Yes.
And this filter, how it redeems and restores the water, is just like what Jesus did on that cross for us. So the filter itself is a tool, and we believe that those indigenous missionaries and pastors are the best ones to put this tool in their hands and let them minister to their own people, neighbors ministering to neighbors. And we believe that when you equip an indigenous person, they can move a lot faster than we ever could.
Well, again, for a lot of people, this is like high tech. It isn't that high tech for us. Anybody that's been backpacking, and I love to do backpacking, you have some of those kind of filters that even though you think it's probably pretty good water and you boil it, I always use those little filters just one more time, make sure there's no amoeba and things of that nature. But for somebody in another country, they don't take for granted what we take for granted, to go to the water faucet and assume that you have clean water. So what a great opportunity for ministry. If people would like to connect up with you, maybe we're having a missions pastor right now listening, or people in the church, and they want to pass this on to the missions pastor, let me first of all point out that if you go to our website, pointofview.net, we have a link to thebucketministry.org. You can hit the share button and send it on to someone, but you have a number of upcoming trips that are listed there, places where you could donate, and also places where you work, whether it's North America, Central America, South America, Asia, Africa. There's a whole calendar there, so it's really kind of one-stop shopping if they can go to thebucketministry.org, but help people know what's the first step. I want to get involved. How do I get involved?
First step is to seek the Lord's direction in prayer. First and foremost, because what I would tell you, Kirby, might not be the same as what God is telling the next person on how to engage. And many people come to us and say, hey, what can I do? And I said, well, I think it's a little more complicated than that. What gifts has God given you? And let's see how we could use your gifting, use your talents, your time, your treasures to build His kingdom. And so I would say the first step is going to the website, seeing opportunities. And if it's a trip, we have a calendar of trips to go on, some a little more tame than others. A trip to the Amazon basin on a boat, on an open-air riverboat, is not for everybody. But going to an urban slum in Nairobi, Kenya, is a very simple trip that many people can make and really not have to be physically challenged. But I would say, first of all, go into the website to see the different opportunities and contact us. We would love to have those conversations and explore what the Lord is telling them specifically and to find where their gifting is.
How has this helped you? I mean, you went to the Amazon not thinking that you were going to be starting a ministry, and certainly that's had a very profound impact in your own life.
Well, and that is a story that is probably more than we have time for, but in the short version, I will tell you it has grown my faith faster than I think it could have ever grown because of this work, Kirby, and because of the things I get to see every day. I get to see miracles.
I know.
I get to see life transformation, and it is difficult to think of any other explanation other than this is God's work and we are merely joining Him in His work when we witness these things. So I will tell you, for me personally, my own faith has grown at such a level that I really don't worry an awful lot about an awful lot of things anymore because I've seen God move.
That's incredible. Well, Christopher, it's been great to have you in studio. I've heard about this, but I wanted to expose our audience to that. If you find yourself saying, okay, what's the first step? As we said, go to thebucketministry.org. Learn a little bit more. There's a button that says Learn More. There's some material about trips and everything. But as he says, maybe first step for you is to bring it to prayer, to consider what it is. They're a member of ECFA, a very reputable organization, and one that probably you've just heard about for the very first time here on Point of View. So, Christopher, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for clearing the water up, and we can pass it around to all the staff here if they want it. I'm not saying anybody's a taker here, but you proof of the pudding. You filtered it and drank it right in front of us. And again, if you want to see that, that is, of course, going to be up so that you can actually watch this again, and maybe you can pass it on to others. Thanks for joining us. And I hope you, again, I've appreciated all that we've talked about today. And don't forget that if you would like more information about what we're talking about, you can find it at the website pointofview.net. That's all we have for today. We look forward to seeing you next time right here on Point of View Highlights.